这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的听力水平在生活中是完全够用的。要持续提升英文，记得点击订阅按钮。我们开始吧。
If life feels like it is pulling you so hard you can barely breathe, stay with me. The phrase "cut someone some slack" did not begin in an office, a classroom, or a family talk. It was born in a place where mistakes were loud, fast, and often deadly. It was born on the sea. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, the ocean ruled trade, travel, and war. Ships crossed long distances with no engines, no radios, and no second chances. Every trip depended on wind, weather, and ropes. Ropes mattered more than words. They held sails open to catch the wind. They held cargo in place as waves smashed the hull. They held people alive when the ship leaned hard and the deck turned into a moving wall. Slack was not kindness back then. Slack was space. Slack was survival. A rope pulled too tight had no mercy. When the wind changed fast, a tight rope could snap without warning. When it snapped, it did not fall quietly. It flew back with force, striking anything in its path. Sailors lost fingers, arms, and lives to ropes that had no slack. So crews learned a rule that was never written down but always obeyed. When the pressure rises, do not fight it with more force. You ease it. You cut the rope some slack. On one merchant ship heading west across the Atlantic, there worked a mixed crew of old hands and young boys. Among them was a boy named William. He was 17, thin, eager, and scared most days, though he tried hard not to show it. William wanted to prove himself. Every order felt like a test. Every shout from an older sailor felt like a warning that he could be sent below deck, or worse, sent home in shame. One afternoon, the wind began to shift. Clouds rolled in low and heavy. The sea darkened, not with waves yet, but with promise. The captain called for the sails to be adjusted. Ropes moved fast through hands. Knots were tied and untied in seconds. William was put on a line that controlled part of the mainsail. The wind pushed harder than expected. The sail filled fast. The rope pulled back like a living thing. William leaned into it, jaw tight, arms shaking. He believed effort was the answer. If he pulled harder, he would win. An older sailor saw the line stretching, fibers crying under stress. "Slack," the man yelled. William did not move. "Cut it some slack," the man shouted again. William hesitated for half a second too long. The rope snapped. It cracked like a gunshot. The broken end whipped past William's chest and slammed into the rail, tearing a deep mark into the wood. Everyone froze, not from fear, but from habit. They all counted their limbs. They all checked who was still standing. William stood still, eyes wide, breath short. The captain walked over slowly. He did not shout. He did not curse. He pointed at the broken rope. "That," he said, "is what happens when you think tight control means strength." Then he looked at William. "Next time, you cut it some slack. You let it move so it won't break you." That lesson stayed with William longer than any nod or command. He learned that control is not always about holding harder. Sometimes it is about knowing when to loosen your grip. That way of speaking stayed on ships for generations. Sailors used it casually, the way people use weather talk today. "Cut him some slack. He's new." "Cut the line some slack. The wind's turning." "Cut yourself some slack, or you'll lose a hand." When sailors returned to land, they did not leave their language behind. Sea phrases slipped into daily life, carried by men who now worked in docks, warehouses, and workshops. By the mid-1800s, cut some slack no longer needed a rope to make sense. People understood it without seeing the sea. In a busy port town, a young dock worker drops a crate and breaks a bottle inside. The sound echoes. Heads turn. The foreman walks over, looks at the mess, then at the worker's tired face. "Cut him some slack," the foreman says. "He's been hauling since sunrise." The words calm the moment. No shouting. No punishment. Just space to recover. The phrase grows stronger because life on land pulls just as hard as life at sea. Factories rise. Machines run all day. People work long hours with little rest. Mistakes happen not from laziness, but from exhaustion. A woman named Ellen works in a textile mill. Her hands move fast, her back aches, her eyes burn from dust and low light. One evening, she misses a step and jams the machine. The supervisor starts to speak, then stops. "Cut her some slack," another worker says quietly. "She hasn't sat down all day." Ellen keeps her job. She goes home sore, but not broken. Over time, the phrase moves again, into schools and homes. A boy struggles with reading. His teacher sees the effort behind the slow progress. "Cut him some slack," she tells the class. Everyone learns at a different pace. A father loses his temper after a long week. Later, he sighs and says, "I should cut myself some slack. I'm worn out." The rope is no longer visible, but it is still there. Modern life pulls in quiet ways. Deadlines. Bills. Messages that never stop. Expectations that stack up day after day. We pull back, thinking more force will fix it. More hours. More pressure. Less rest. But pressure without slack leads to the same ending it always has. Something snaps. Maybe it is your patience. Maybe it is your health. Maybe it is your belief that you are doing enough. This old C phrase survived because it tells the truth in simple words. When things are tight, give them room. When people struggle, give them space. When you are close to breaking, loosen your grip. Cut someone some slack. Not because they are weak. Not because you are giving up. But because even the strongest rope needs room to move if it is going to hold through the storm. And just like those sailors long ago, learning under dark skies and wild wind, you might find that easing up is what keeps everything together.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。